All right. Okay guys, I've got a recap on the stock market behavior this week amid the whole coronavirus thing, and I'm gonna get into what a margin call is because I had to learn what that was this week. So all of that is coming up right after this. Welcome back guys. If you're new to this channel, my name is Sean. I am documenting my journey to financial freedom and kind of covering a little bit of investing. If that's interesting to you, please consider subscribing to this channel. Right now I'm thinking to come out with kind of weekly videos that sort of follow the stock market, and amid all of the uncertainty and stuff over coronavirus, I am going to be talking about what I'm doing with my investments in general. Right now, I'll be honest, not so much, but just covering what the stock market does and when I will be doing some investing myself. Anyway, let's get into what happened this last week. There's a few things I kind of wanted to cover that were very unique with this situation. So the coronavirus thing has blown up. Like, I've never seen anything like this. Even just getting emails to my phone, I feel like every company that I ever kind of subscribe to is sending out information or emails about COVID-19. Obviously the ones that are very involved with travel, so hotels.com, Kayak, Travelocity, but there's even other companies like World Vision, the local community center that's just around the corner from here. Our church was sending out emails about this, WestJet, the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas, and finally, of course, Cineplex. It definitely feels like businesses are very concerned that people will be too scared to come out and use their facilities or spend the money at their companies. So it really looks like businesses are trying to take a step forward to give people comfort, to keep their doors open if they can, because if they close their doors, even temporarily, it's not good for anybody. Well, definitely not good for their bottom line. So that was really interesting to me. The other big thing is that the NBA has postponed the season, and quickly following that, the NHL has postponed any further games in the playoffs until the outbreak has kind of been dealt with, which is also super huge. So a lot of this is pretty unprecedented. I also had a thing where I was going to talk about my local hockey team, the Calgary Flames, and the way that the ownership was not going to be paying out staff who would be out shifts for the rest of this year and not getting paid. However, there is a story now that they have changed their mind and they will be compensating workers. So that's great. I'm very happy because the rest of the arenas were doing that, and it seemed like we were the only ones who weren't, which didn't make sense. So that's good. And the really weird thing, still the thing that puzzles me about this whole thing, is why toilet paper seems to be more valuable than gold at this point. I don't really know why that is the household item that everybody wants to buy. I've heard that it's because it's manufactured in China. I've heard it's because the cardboard rolls in the middle are manufactured in China. So yeah, of course, my wife and I went to the store. It was really weird to see. It was really weird to see empty shelves. There's no Kleenex, no paper towels, no toilet paper in certain aisles. Flour was really hard to find apparently, which was kind of odd to me. But hey, maybe people are planning on hunkering down and quarantining themselves and just doing a lot of baking. I'm not sure. But there has been a press release from the Canadian government asking people to just buy as normal. There will be enough stuff to go around to everybody if people just consume and buy as normal. We're not going to be closing grocery stores or any of these services that people rely on. And it's important because if people start hoarding all this stuff, then there actually won't be enough to get around to the people that need it. So my wife and I think that we'll be able to survive this just by shopping as normal, which is what we're doing. But there are certain things in the stores that seem to be a hot commodity right now. So now let's get to talking about the market. So if you haven't seen the video from last week, I was talking about investing in a crisis and what that's like. Right now, there's kind of a double whammy between the virus and oil prices dipping. So the S&P 500 has dropped about 14% from a couple weeks ago. And that number is actually kind of insulated because it jumped back up on Friday. So I'll show a chart right here. This is about 1 month ago. And so you can see it's about just over 3,000 points. It dips to 2480, about 2,500, and then jumps back up on Friday to 2,700. So 14% is kind of a misleading, it's a misleading stat, but it has jumped up as of the last day of the week last week. If you go back a month, it's down about 20%. You can see here, the 3 months, it's about, again, 14.5% and 16% down on the year. So it's obviously not doing great. In the last work week, it went down almost 9%. So stock markets right now, still plunging, still adjusting to the fear out there. I didn't look at Friday's bounce back as kind of a recovery. I don't think we're even close to over with this. I've sort of learned my lesson when I thought that this was just going to be contained overseas, but now that it's gone global, it's got a very serious effect on the market. So if you have some cash, keep it for now. That's what I'm doing. And I'm gonna wait till this sort of calms down. Maybe even during the summer, I'm thinking, would be when people are less fearful and you might see the market kind of hit the bottom, but we'll see. That's why I'm going to cover this from week to week, because I feel like this story is developing very quickly. Now, I did say I was going to talk about margin call, but I just want to take a quick second. If you guys think these updates are helpful, or you're thinking about getting into investing and you want me to make kind of weekly videos about the stock market and what I'm doing with my investments, I said in my last video, if I get to 100 subscribers, I will open up one of my investment accounts. I've got about 3, and just to show you and illustrate what I'm doing, but I'd really like to get to the 100 subscriber mark, so please hit that subscribe button. All right, now we'll get back to the margin call. So I got this really interesting email from Questrade. They're a Canadian company, they're my online investment broker that I use. It was talking about a margin call, and I had no idea what a margin call was, but essentially, I'll pull up the email. They sent me an email with a list of companies, emailed people that had positions in these companies and said, by the way, the maintenance requirement on these stocks, on these positions has changed. It is your responsibility to go in and check, make sure that you're still in good standing. That's all it kind of said. I had no idea what that meant. So they were just saying there's a margin call on these stocks. So I had to go figure out what that was, and I think I have wrapped my head around it. I actually had to call Questrade to confirm that I was understanding this properly, so here it goes. Essentially, in a margin account, in an account where you can actually borrow money from your broker to invest, they do what's called a margin call sometimes when the maintenance requirement, which is a percentage set out by the position, is changed. So what a company will do is, in order to allow their prices to fluctuate, they'll set what's called a maintenance requirement. So let's say it's 30% in our example, and actually I'll show you a diagram. So here you have an example where you have invested $10,000 in a position. You did $5,000 of that in your own cash, and then you borrowed $5,000 to make your $10,000. Now, the company has set a 30% maintenance requirement, and then what happens is the price of the stock drops, and now your equity, the amount that you paid in cash, is below the 30% mark. Now you'll notice that the margin, the amount you borrowed, doesn't change. So you are taking a loss already, and what they'll do is a margin call, which means that you have to buy more stock in order to get yourself above the 30% mark. So it's not a great situation. It's something where the company can change that maintenance requirement, or you have to keep an eye on the fact that you're going to dip below that maintenance requirement and then adjust your account accordingly. Now, luckily, I don't borrow money to invest. I only invest in cash. So I called Questrade and I asked them, hey, am I still in good standing? I'm not even sure what the change in the maintenance requirement was. The guy actually checked and said, he said, if you're investing only in cash and you're not borrowing any money, this isn't an issue for you. So I was lucky that way, but just thought that this would be useful for people who are getting into investing and may not know this. I don't consider myself a financial advisor or a professional in any sense, so I'm learning a lot of this as we go. So it's just something to keep in mind. Companies will change that maintenance requirement. They could bump it from 30 to 40% sometimes in order to maybe get people to invest more in the company, especially if it's run on hard times. So this call came out on a stock that I mentioned last week, which was AC.to, which is Air Canada. They're an airline company, a Canadian airline company that have been hit super hard by this coronavirus pandemic. So my thought is, with them and a bunch of other stocks getting hit, they probably raised their maintenance requirement, and I got the email from Questrade asking me to go in and check this. I did buy positions in that company when they dipped a couple weeks ago, but since then they have dropped even further. Again, I can show you the details if I open up that account later on, but we can talk a little bit more specifically about it in a later video perhaps. For now, I'm not investing anymore. I will try to average down. I probably will get a little bit more when I'm thinking that that company has hit the bottom, but I also think that there is maybe more bad news to come for them. So I'm still waiting. I want them to decrease a little bit more. But the good news story here is I'm still in good standing. I'm not too worried about the margin call, but hopefully that helps some of you guys out. That's all I have for this week, guys. Again, if you want to see a weekly update on the stock market and what I'm doing with my accounts, please remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I will try to come out with these videos maybe on Mondays, and then I'll try to throw in my regular scheduled videos, weekly videos about money, motivation, and minimalism and stuff like that. That'll probably come out maybe on Thursdays while we go through this interesting time in the stock market. Until then, you guys have a great week, spread the wealth, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.